Alright, welcome back to the Shardbreaker podcast. I am Midnight, the host, and I'm here with Mythic.
Hello.
And Darkness.
Hello.
We read chapters 22 through 29 of The Hero of Ages this week. Let's get right into it. Chapter 22's epigraph is: The beads of metal found at the well, beads that made men into Mistborn, were the reason Allomancers used to be more powerful. Those first Mistborn were as Ellen Venture became, possessing a primal power which was then passed down through the lines of the nobility, weakening a bit with each generation. So what are your thoughts on how Allomantic abilities apparently decrease over generations?
I mean, it bleeds out just like anything else.
We kind of went over the fact that that's what we thought happened.
Yep.
Yeah, we just get it confirmed now.
No.
No real thoughts about that then?
It does make me. It does make me feel like Vin was either like had eaten one of these at one point, or
it's like a really recent descendant of one of them. That's what I thought too.
Yeah, because she has like stronger than most or whatever.
So we have Say's point of view for this chapter, as he sits in a former guardhouse holding a mug of hot tea. He thinks about how he'll need to leave the next day to meet up with Breeze and Goradel. He also glances out the window and notices fencing around the cracks in the ground where men like Kelsier used to have to go searching for ATM geodes. And I guess that's so that the terrace people don't just fall in to these areas. So the terrace elders are with Sazed, and they show him a ledger, which apparently they had a copy of written in metal as per Sazed's instructions. They also note that they had made more latrines as per his suggestions, as he is worried that they may need to house more refugees in the future. During his time here, he had also made sure they had enough supplies, and that they were in good communication with Lord Penrod, and that they had a way to settle disputes among themselves. So what did you think about Sage trying to help the terrace people set up their own town and government?
Well, he's working to become a god, you know? So he's managing his people.
Any thoughts, Mythic?
Yeah, it shows leadership, even though he doesn't want to claim that he's their leader.
Yeah, he really doesn't want to be their leader. They're like, please,
like,
please
I'm not
be our
your
leader.
He's like, I'm not your leader, but here, do these things.
So the elders, although Sazed notes that the youngest is close to his age, ask Sazed how long he'll be there for, and Sazed mentions that he'll be leaving in the morning. They ask him to stay as they are in need of a leader, but Sazed says they've been oppressed by a tyrant long enough. He also brings up the fact that the Lord Ruler was terrorist when they mention they want one of their own to lead them. And they're just like really quiet, like, fuck. I know, that sucks. Ism brought up that Sage isn't wearing his copper mines, and he mentions that he was the lowest of keepers and that the other keepers rejected him. They say that he is all they have left, and he just replies that they are sorrier people than they appear. Sage then asks if any of the terracemen have died due to the mists, but they dismiss that as Ska's superstitions. They send men out to work the fields while the mists are out all the time, but none have died. Sage wants to dwell on this, but also finds himself feeling apathetic and not wanting to deal with the issues of the world. So what did you think about the fact that these mist deaths are not affecting the terrace people, like, at all, it seems?
Well, I mean, assuming. I mean, I don't believe this dude for the first. So when he said it, I was like, okay. I feel like we're just covering stuff up.
So you think they're just lying to Sazed then, and it really is affecting the terrace people?
Like, I feel like either that or they just don't notice that, what was it, 16% or something like that of their people they send out.
I don't know. I feel like they would definitely, with their small community, notice if people were getting seizures in the mists.
I mean, what's 16% of 5 people?
They have more than 5 people.
I'm saying, like, I feel like one person. If you send 16 people out and one person goes down, like you're not gonna like bat an eyelash to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that man just had a seizure. Okay.
We've been through a lot. He must just be sick from all the travels.
I
mean, to be fair, they did travel here. They might have just been used to the mist from their travels from the terrace to here, so maybe people died along the way and they didn't think about it. And now everyone here is already immune. What do you think, Darkness? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I think it's because they were there before. So, I feel like it's affecting... So, in my mind, I see it as, like, the terrace people were already, like, there before the Lord Ruler, you know? Like, they were already a thing.
Do you think maybe, like, it's genetically they're immune to it from being around during the Deepness times, their ancestors?
Yeah, and, like, you know how the Lord Ruler was, like, fucking shit up? So, I feel like it's targeting those that have, like, allomancy or, like, those that have, like, those that are like descendant
Those that
of
have the
like his
potential for
creations.
allomancy.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that was chapter 22 is pretty short. I think the first like 3 or 4 chapters are all pretty short. So we go into chapter 23's epigraph, which is, during the early days of Kelsier's original plan, I remember how much he confused us all with his mysterious 11th metal. He claimed that there were legends of a mystical metal that would let one slay the Lord Ruler, and that Kelsier himself had located the metal through intense research. Nobody really knew what Kelsier did in the years between his escape from the pits of Hathin and his return to Luthadel. Impressed, he simply said that he'd been in the West. Somehow, in his wanderings, he discovered stories that no keeper had ever heard. Most of the crew didn't know what to make of the legends he spoke of. This might have been the first seed that made even his oldest friends begin to question his leadership. I wasn't really sure on a question for this. I just was wondering if you had any thoughts about this epigraph.
I mean, not really.
It wasn't really, not really much to discuss, I feel like.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess I didn't really see it as them questioning it at first, but I guess.
So we get a spook POV as he has flashbacks of his past during
Yay.
some fevers.
Yay.
So he talks about how he used to run around with packs of children who foraged in the streets, which is where he apparently learned to speak Eastern street slang. Spook had been brought home one day and threatened by his father, who, along with several other ska in the room, thought it was better to have him die than to let the Inquisitors find out about the fact that he's an Allomancer and potentially come after them as well. Just in case. Spook's father has his foot on Spook's neck as he says that Spook isn't his son. His son went out into the mist and never came out. So what do you think about Spook's father not believing Spook is his son? He thinks he's just like a mist wraith.
He actually thinks that, but, he has to try to save face.
Well, I mean, obviously it's true. Look at him. Like, he came all spooky.
I see. Is that why he's Spook? Because he's a
Mhm.
mist wraith?
Yeah.
So a man at the back of the room then drops some coins out of a pouch and offers them to Spook's dad for Spook. He states that he'll offer a bag of copper coins, and that they won't catch Spook to make him speak because he'll be in Luthadel with him. Spook's father moves towards the man, but Spook's mother stops him, saying the man will kill him. Spook's father calls the man a traitor for working in the Lord Ruler's army. Spook's father then accuses Spook's mother of sending for her brother, the man, knowing that he would want to take Spook with him. Spook's uncle then gets up and tells Spook to follow him out. He asks Spook for his name, which he decides his old name isn't good enough, so he tells his uncle that his name is Lestaborns. Lestaborns meaning lefting I'm born in Eastern street slang and translating to I've been abandoned. So what do you think about the meaning of Lestaborns and the fact that we still don't know Spook's real name? He's had now 2 fake names.
That's what I was wondering. I was like,
What's
which
the
one is
real
actually-
name? He's gonna be some, like, ridiculously high-powered name, like he's gonna be like a king or something. Well,
Oh my
I
god,
don't-
he's it's that other fucking god we think exists name is Preservation. He's
Preservation.
Preservation.
Mhm. No, I have a different theory on that now, though.
Assuming we'll get to that at some point.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about some really cool ideas.
But yeah, so that's our little Spook flashback chapter. We get to know about his past now that he's a main POV character, which I'm sure
Mhm.
Mythic really enjoyed.
Yep,
Uh,
he's always been a main POV character for me.
I mean, he's never technically been a POV. He's just been a main character. Too.
He's always been my main POV character.
Okay.
Mythic has always seen the
Yep.
point of views from
Yep.
like his.
see.
I always see his point of views. Yep.
Alright. So we get chapter 24's epigraph next, which is, I now believe that Kelsier's stories, legends, and prophecies about the 11th metal were fabricated by Ruin. Kelsier was looking for a way to kill the Lord Ruler, and Ruin, ever subtle, provided a way. The secret was indeed crucial. Kelsier's 11th metal provided the very clue we needed to defeat the Lord Ruler. However, even in this, we were manipulated. The Lord Ruler knew Ruin's goals, and would never have released him from the Well of Ascension, so Ruin needed other pawns. And for that to happen, the Lord Ruler needed to die. Even our greatest victory was shaped by Ruin's subtle fingers. So what do you think about the fact that Ruin is technically like behind the manipulations of like the Lord Ruler's death and the whole rebellion?
Well, I mean,
So-
it's something he needed.
I mean, yeah, he needed to do that so that he could get out. So
It makes me wonder. It makes me wonder, like, how many times he's tried it. Because I'm pretty sure they've talked about like Scott rebellions before. Right?
yeah, I tried to kill the Lord Ruler and they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought about the same thing. I thought about like, what if every time that he stated, "Oh yeah, they've tried to kill me," yada yada, was all these times that he's
Ruin was
tried
trying to
to.
hook it up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's definitely possible. I'm sure some of the early ones were probably just people upset that he was like tyrannically taking over the whole world. But I'm sure, yeah, in between the start of his role.
If only they knew.
So we have Tensu's point of view for this chapter. He'd been thinking about what Meilon had said to him a few days ago, and wondering if he was taking the easy way out by just accepting his punishment. He also worries that he's leaving Vin without the information she needs. He felt that Vin needed to know about the origins of the Khandra and their beliefs. Tensun even wondered if she could use the trust. However,
God, he's so loyal. It's almost like he's some kind of a dog or something.
However, his previous sins have been spontaneous, and if he went to tell Vin more about the Khandra secrets, he would be deliberately betraying them. So what sort of information do you think Tensun would be able to provide Vin that she might not already know or have
I love
guessed?
a lot the
Hmm?
like the fucking blessings, the trust that yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he has a lot that he could share with her, even if she does know. Still, just hearing it from somebody else,
Yeah, and he could also tell her the history of like what happened the last times the gods fought, which I'm assuming is what happened because he was like, "It's gonna happen again."
Yeah, well, we know somehow Ruin was like trapped, so I believe that's
Wonder
what
how
he's.
that happened.
Yeah, I believe that's what he's referring to when he talks about the gods fighting previously.
Yeah.
Also, what do you think this trust is, and how could Vin use it in a way that would help?
So I can't remember the trust, to be honest.
Well, they haven't really explained much
Yeah,
about it,
no,
right?
I don't even remember it being mentioned at all.
They mention it
It was
briefly. It's in the big trial room. Apparently, it was below
yeah,
Tensun's feet because the trial room's called the Trust Warren, and he mentions that he's on the platform, like on top of the trust.
maybe it's how they make new conjure.
I asked you guys about it previously, but I don't think you have any
Nope.
ideas. But apparently, it's something that Vin could potentially use. That's why I brought it up again.
Therapy.
Hey, this might be the thing that I was thinking of, but we'll get to it later.
Okay. So
It might be what I was thinking of.
Tensun, however, feels like he can't think of a way to escape his cage, and even if he could, he wouldn't be able to outrun the Khandra with the Blessing of Potency. He thinks it's better that he has no chance of escape, though, as it means he can accept his punishment. He then notices Varcel and several Fifth approaching his cage with a large sack. And he also notes that he's like, it's not been a month yet. I can tell because of my Blessing of Presence that it's only been a few days. And he thinks about his conversation with Meilon and wonders if he dare hopes. Varcel throws the sack of bones into the cell and tells Tensun that he's expected to wear those bones to the trial. The seconds want to break his bones in a sort of public execution, although he won't die from it, and they don't want to waste perfectly good human bones. Varcel then leaves, saying he'll be back later for the human bones. Tensun pulls out the leg bone of a wolfhound and thinks that his plan to have the seconds hear his hatred for the dog bones had worked. The seconds would consider making Tensun wear the body of an animal extremely degrading, however they had given him what he needed to escape. So were you surprised that Tensu's plan to being like, oh, I hate the dog bones so much would work?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, to be honest. I knew it was gonna work. These guys don't seem that smart.
I've been stuck in the homeland too long.
I'm gonna say they obviously don't haven't touched grass in a while.
Nope, they've only touched stone.
And then they molded themselves after that. Real weird.
What did you think, Darkness?
I mean, we expected it,
Yeah, I was just
but
like, you expected it to be, especially so quickly.
I just don't know how that's gonna help him escape.
I mean, he already stated before though that those bones were better in some aspects. Basically, being able.
The composition of a dog, he said, was better in a lot of physical traits.
Yeah. Well, I guess he wanted it to outrun the conjure that had the blessing of potency or whatever.
Or do you think that part of him was dissolved by acid is gonna affect how well he can create the dog body?
I didn't even think about that.
I don't think so.
Hope not.
I just thought about that right now. I was like, oh yeah, there's also if he's banking on the bigger muscles, it's like, but will you? You have you've been dissolved partially with acid.
I mean, he's in a human form and he doesn't seem to have any issues.
Well, he does say that when he first made his human body that he was emaciated and had weak muscles because he was partially dissolved with acid. So he does have he's not on he doesn't have a normal human body. He's has a very lean and weak looking human body.
Interesting.
But he obviously still has enough to form a full body. So chapter 25's epigraph is The Balance. Is it real? We've almost forgotten
this is why I started thinking about it. Okay.
I
couldn't remember where I started making the theory that I'm about to tell you in the end.
Yeah.
This is it. Alright, well.
Alright. We've almost forgotten this little bit of lore. Scott used to talk about it before the collapse. Philosophers discussed it a great deal in the 3rd and 4th centuries, but by Kelsier's time it was mostly a forgotten topic. But it was real. There was a physiological difference between Scott and nobility. When the Lord Ruler altered mankind to make them more capable of dealing with ash, he changed other things as well. Some groups of people, the noblemen, were created to be less fertile but taller, stronger, and more intelligent. Others, the Ska, were made to be shorter, hardier, and have many children. The changes were slight, however, and after 1,000 years of interbreeding, the changes had largely been erased. What do you think about how the Lord Ruler changed humanity into nobles versus Skas? Were you expecting that to be like an actual physiological thing instead of just a class thing, like was discussed in the first book?
He stated that it was a physical. What? I thought this was already known.
So
That the
basically,
Scott were
well,
shorter and
in the first
fertile.
book, there's
Mhm.
discussions. I think Vin brings it up, and she maybe has discussions with Kelsier about it. How like, oh, and like I think Ellen also references about how like, oh, the Ska are thought of as like less intelligent, and like they're like lesser people, and the nobility are greater people. And Kelsier was like, no, it's just because we've been beaten down, starved, and like we're like not well, like we don't have a lot of nutrition, and we have a lot of children because our kids die a lot. That's why Ska are the way they are, whereas the nobility don't need to have a lot of children, and also the Lord Ruler doesn't want a lot of nobility, so he doesn't encourage it. And the nobility are smarter because they've been educated. So there was that kind of discussion in the first book about whether it was actually like a genetic thing or if it was just because of the way both classes of people lived.
I wonder if they're getting I wonder if how the epigraph states that the changes are like, becoming minimal, they're reverting or whatever.
Yeah, there's not as much difference as there was when he originally changed them, apparently, because they like
Okay, but
interbreed between nobility and Ska over the
I'm
centuries.
wondering if it's also deteriorating the resistance of like the other stuff he changed for their bodies.
Well, he said he made them both able to deal with the ash.
Yeah, but like I'm saying, maybe they had resistance to the mist for so long because of that.
I see.
Is that what you're trying to go with, darkness, or are you
Yeah.
saying, okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe they're now becoming,
Weakening it, yeah.
yeah.
Because I don't know if the balance is like a thing. Because I know that it's capitalized and all that, but I feel like it would be more of like trying to like, like a universal rule where
Sure.
it's like, if this happens, this has to happen no matter what. So like,
If it goes up, it must come down, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah, something like that. So like,
It's a universal rule, but yeah.
hmm so like, I was just thinking, like, if a lot of their changes that he made are like, reverting, then they're going back to normal, and like, it's gonna bring like the bad stuff too. You know what I mean? Like, instead of just like getting rid of all the like bad stuff, it's gonna also bring previous bad stuff before they had already changed it.
I don't know if it would fully, because like I don't know really what bad stuff you're talking about. Besides like as I think mentioned maybe like a resistance to the mist potentially, but like because the changes are basically about fertility, intelligence, and like general physical structure.
Okay, but that's not the only thing he changed.
But that's what he made difference between them, is what Sage is saying, and that's what the balance is. He changed everyone, terrorist, nobles, Ska, to be resistant to the mist, or to be resistant to the ash, I mean, and everything. So I just don't see what interbreeding between the Ska and nobility would do other than what it's kind of done, which is made them more similar.
Well, are
And
they interbreeding with terrorist people?
as far as we know, they aren't, because the terrorist people were basically hunted to almost extinction and then put into breeding programs. I don't think they're allowed to
So
breed with people.
then they don't really fall in that category.
No, the terrorists are separate. The balance is just about nobility and Ska.
I think he's trying to go back to the question you had before about why are the terrorist people not affected by the mist?
Yeah, so if there's some sort of resistance to the mist due to genetics, as you were talking about earlier, then yeah, the Ska nobility probably wouldn't have that unless the Lord Ruler put that into them, but we have not been told that.
Yeah.
Anything else, or should I move on?
Move on.
Okay.
Onwards and upwards.
So we move to Ellen's point of view as the canal boats approach Fadrix. In front of the boats was a set of steep rock formations in red and orange the city was nestled into the center of. The rocks formed hedge-like barriers up to 30 or 40 feet tall. There was no wall around Fadrix, as the Lord Ruler hadn't allowed walls around any cities except Luthadel, but the rocks around the city were a natural fortification. Ellen notes that he had been here before, but only in passing, as it hadn't been considered the capital of the West until Set decided to make it his capital. Previously, the capital had been Tremordar, but Fadrix was smaller and more defensible, and was also a major supply station for numerous canal routes. Ellen mentions out loud that the city looks different, and Ham replies that it's because Fadrix used to have trees growing on the rocky shelves, but they've been cut down so that they couldn't sneak up on the city. Ellen then points out a canyon to Ham that Fadrix had cut troughs into the area and then bridged over them to make entering the city harder. As they continued west, the canal had several massive lock mechanisms that were intentionally jammed, so the group had to break through them in order to keep moving. Ellen mentions that doing this to the canals would make it impossible for Fadrix to get supplies during the siege, but Ham notes that with how much the canals are getting clogged by the ash, that Fadrix wouldn't be able to use them for supplies anyways. He also notes that if they make it back to Luthadel, it'll have to be on foot. So what were your thoughts on Fadrix and how it's fortified?
Well, repeat the question?
What were your thoughts on just like Fadrix overall from the outside and how they fortified it?
I mean, I don't think I had specific thoughts on that. I just,
Okay, that's
you
fine.
know.
All I was thinking was, man, it's gonna be real fun to see the Kolas take that wall down.
The non-wall?
Mm-hmm.
There is no wall. Just rocks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Here you go, there's the wall.
So we skip to that evening after the group had made camp, and Ellen glances to Fadrix and notices large bonfires at the entrance. He thinks that instead of the usual idea of bringing fire out because of fear of the mist, this seems more like a declaration of confidence. Ellen then moves into the commander's tent to meet with Ham, Set, and Vin. Briefly thinks about how spread out the crew is, with Spook and Breeze in the north, Penrod and Luthadel, and Felt watching the storage cache in the east. Which is a bit weird how he brings... I guess Felt's just really important to Ellen. We literally never get Felt brought up except for if Ellen's thinking of him. Do you guys remember who Felt is?
Is it? I might be thinking this wrong, but is it that one obligator?
No, that's Norden.
Right.
I think Norden's with them. He's just not part of this meeting.
Who the fuck is
who was the Kolas that he told that he said that that other one ate his horse?
Oh, he doesn't have a name. So Felt is a guy from the first book who's also brought up briefly in the second book. He's the guy who Ellen sends to spy on Vin when he's told that Vin might be trying to steal from him.
Oh yeah, I do remember that guy.
He used to work for House Venture, and he's like loyal to Ellen, and Ellen's kind of kept him around.
Guy who nobody gives a shit about.
Yeah, he literally is like never really mentioned except for by Ellen, and it's like usually like only once or twice in the book.
Bruh.
Which is why I thought I'd ask if you guys even remembered who that was.
I didn't care, bro.
So they start the meeting, and Ham mentions that Yeoman had around 25,000 soldiers, although it's likely he has much more, but didn't bring them all to the capital. Set mentions that he had said he was leaving Yeoman in charge when he left, but both he and Yeoman knew that wasn't true. Ham then also brings up that Yeoman likely has 80,000 soldiers spread out across the west, and that he may have some small groups around their camp watching them. Ellen suggests doubling the guards and tripling the scout patrols, especially during the early morning mist, just in case. He also suggests keeping the men inside during the morning mist to make Yeoman think they're scared of the mist. Do you think Yeoman will believe that the army hasn't gone out in the mist yet, or do you think he's not going to fall for that?
We're talking about Ellen's army, right?
Yeah, Ellen's army hasn't been out in the mist.
Ellen wants to make Yeoman think that potentially his army hasn't been like exposed to the mist yet by keeping them inside the tents in the morning. So that, like, if they try and surprise attack them, they're fine to fight still, and they can surprise the attackers.
Well, yeah, Ellen would never do something like that. You know?
But yeah, my question was, do you think Yeoman would believe that, or do you think Yeoman's gonna be like, nah, they've definitely been out in the mist?
I think he would believe it. Because as I said, Ellen would never do something like that.
Ellen would definitely never send his men out into the mist to die.
No.
Yeah, even though it's only 16% of them.
Well, it's not 16% that die. It's even less that die.
60% bro.
It's 16% that have seizures. Less than that even die.
16% of them. Yep. Trade that information. You should totally trade that information for it.
Hey, I got information about Miss Des. I will trade you for allegiance.
So wait, so you remember how they had an uneven number or whatever, and it was like 0.5 or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you remember if it went one over or went under?
I think it was. I don't think they said. I think they just said it wasn't an exact number because you can't like kill a fraction of a person.
I think it was one under.
It might have been one under, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember if they actually said or not. So Set then suggests holding the canal and posting sentries to make sure Yeoman isn't getting supplies through secret means. He then suggests pillaging nearby towns that aren't well fortified, but Ellen says this isn't about conquering the West, but about the storage cache. Set responds that they don't know that the storage cache will be able to help them, and the West has elevated farmlands that are closer to the sun and may be able to keep producing food. Ellen, however, thinks that he can't give up yet, and that the ash was just as much of an issue as the mist in regards to food production. Ellen then states that the cache is still their primary target, which makes Finn smile. He then asks Ham to send engineers and scouts out to find ways into the city and asks Set to help with that. He also says he wants to get spies into the city to sabotage food supplies. Set then suggests assassinating Yeoman as they have 2 Mistborn, but Ellen says he wants to try diplomacy first. Set says if they do this diplomatically, then he doesn't get his city back, and Ellen replies that Set kneeled to him and that he will be rewarded, but he doesn't get to decide what he gets and when. So do you think
that was badass? Ellen has been badass this whole time.
do you think Set will be upset if they allow Yeoman to keep Fadrax if he allies with them? Do you think like Set's gonna get pissed off?
Of course he'd be upset. But who cares about Set?
Honestly.
Do you think if he does get upset, he won't be an issue though?
If he what?
He won't be an issue if he gets upset about that.
I'm sure he'll be an issue, but I'm sure it'll be dealt with pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be like one of those like dismissive comments. You know when they're like,
they're like, "Shut up, Set. We're Mistborn. We can fuck you up."
yeah.
All right. So Ellen asks Finn if she can get into the city, and she says she can poke around, but doesn't know what he expects her to find. Ellen asks Set for names of informants or nobles that might be loyal to Set, or at least bribable. When Set's like, "What do you mean loyalty?" Set then says he'll provide a list of names and locations, but he can't be sure any of his contacts are still in the city or even alive. Ellen then tells them to make some fortifications, keep the Tin Eyes on watch, and they'll have Finn see if she can get into the cache to see if it's even worth taking the city. Ellen then leaves the tent, and Finn comes out with him. She makes a face, and Ellen says he knows that she doesn't approve of Set's influence on him, but he'll consider assassination if it's what's best for the Empire. He also states that he could come with her into Fadrax, but she says he's too noisy and smells like an emperor, which would give him away to a Tin Eye. She also bluntly apologizes for him not being good enough to come with her, which just makes Ellen smile. A list of names is then brought out to them, and Ellen gives it to Finn and tells her to have fun before they kiss, and she shoots off into the night after pushing off a coin. Do you agree it was better for Finn to go into the city alone, or do you think she should have let Ellen come with her?
No, definitely going alone.
Yeah, because Ellen smells like an emperor, you know?
He does, yeah. Spook would spot him from, like, miles away.
He probably already knows.
Granted, wait, is this the same city Spook's in?
No, I was just saying in general, because Spook's like
I don't think it is.
Tin Eye Savant.
Because, like, yeah,
they're in the west, Spook's in the north.
Yeah, he sure as fuck knew when Breeze and them got there, so.
Yeah, no, I was just saying because Spook's a Tin Eye, so I mentioned him.
No, yeah, he can definitely smell him from like halfway across the world.
No, Spook is something completely different now. He's not just
He's a savant.
That too, but he's also something completely different now because he's now got whatever ham shit is. Yeah, he's a thug now. There we go.
He's a Tin Eye thug.
Tin thug, got it.
I don't know. Anyways,
I'm so dumb, man.
Shut up. Chapter 26 epigraph is, I'm only just beginning to understand the brilliance of Lord Ruler's cultural synthesis. One of the benefits afforded him by both being immortal and, for all relevant purposes, omnipotent, was a direct and effective influence on the evolution of the final empire. He was able to take elements from a dozen different cultures and apply them to his new perfect society. For instance, the architectural nobility brilliance of the Kaleni builders is manifest in the keeps that the high nobility construct. Kaleni fashion sense, suits for gentlemen, gowns for ladies, is another thing the Lord Ruler decided to appropriate. I suspect that despite his hatred for the Kaleni people, of whom Elendi was one, Rashek had a deep-seated envy of them as well. The Terrors of the time were pastoral herdsmen and Kaleni cultured cosmopolitans. However iconic, it is logical that Rashek's new empire would mimic the high culture of the people he hated. So what do you think about Rashek, like, both hating the Kaleni people, but also basing a decent amount of, like, the noble society after them?
Well, to be fair, you can hate people, but doesn't mean you're gonna hate their customs.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's like, I hate you, but you got some pretty ass buildings and clothing. Yeah. Did you have any thoughts about it, Mythic, or should I move on?
Thoughts about what?
Rashek taking from the Kaleni people, even though he hated them.
He hates a lot of things. Yeah.
He does.
I feel like he didn't really hate them. I feel like he wanted to love personally every single one of them.
Exactly. Just like I don't really think he hated the terrorist people. You know.
Yeah, no, I don't.
He is murdering them.
Yeah, he didn't seem to actually hate the terrorist people. He just was scared of them having like knowing how his powers work, I think. But yeah, so we move to Spook's point of view as he hides in his one-room lair. These sorts of places were deemed illegal, but that just made them more expensive instead. He thinks that he shouldn't have survived, and even then, if the proprietor of the illegal inn had realized what he was, he would have been quickly sold out. But he was lucky, it seemed. Spook stares at himself, shirtless in the mirror, looking at the scabbing wound that hurts far less than it should. He had apparently tried to burn metals other than pewter and tin, but he seems to have only the two metals, even though that should be impossible. He also thinks about seeing Kelsier's spirit and wonders briefly if it was a hallucination. Also thinks that it would then not make sense that he can burn pewter. He then notices the tip of the sword embedded in his wound and goes to pull it out, but the voice of Kelsier stops him, saying it's a mark of his survival.
No,
Spook,
don't do that.
Spook quickly glances around, but he hears and sees nothing else. So what do you think about Kelsier stopping Spook from pulling out the sword piece, but not telling him why?
Well,
Spook is
obviously,
gonna become Ruin's avatar, and that's Ruin. There's no fucking way.
You think
That's
Kelsier's
what I-
ruin,
Yeah,
not Kelsier?
yeah.
no. I think it is still Kelsier.
Why do you think you wouldn't tell Spook about how he has
Probably
That's what I
the
was
poison?
thinking.
Probably because he doesn't want him to start doing hemalurgy on people.
Doesn't want him to start
fucking give
spiking
himself-
himself with a bunch
Yeah,
of stuff. He's like, no, don't become an
exactly.
Inquisitor. no, Spook, you're going too far.
I could just imagine Spook running around, fucking stabbing and shit.
Trying to find all those soldiers that are Allomancers and start stabbing them.
Wait, but I wonder. Oh, I see. Never mind. I completely forgot how he got that fucking thing stuck in him, but I remember.
Yeah, no, one of
Like
the
a
soldiers
stab
stabbed
through
their
one
own
person
friend
into him.
into him
Yeah,
and then broke the sword. So
that's
Spook
kind of cool. Also, very convenient that it was Peter.
I mean, I feel like Kelsier's a god, and he kind of pushed it in that way. But sure.
Ruin would definitely push it that way.
I don't know about that. Why would Ruin want Spook to survive?
Because
Like,
he wants an avatar.
he's already got one. He's literally molding Marsh into an avatar.
Marsh is like not willing.
Neither would Spook.
You don't know that. You don't know that. That's why he's using the Kelsier persona.
Mm-hmm.
He can't really do that with Marsh.
Honestly, I don't think he would use the Kelsier. Like, he would be persuaded by the Kelsier persona anyways, though. I don't think he'd be persuaded to pretty much give up his body.
Oh, he's already getting persuaded by Kelsier. So.
But he's not persuaded to give up his body.
Not yet.
Okay.
That's
I feel
how
like
you
he-
start. You begin with
I feel
small
like he could-
progress.
I feel like he doesn't even have to persuade Marsh. He could literally just take over Marsh's body.
Well, he did take over Marsh's body, but not
Right,
willingly.
I don't think
That's
you're
my
gonna get a
point.
willing
You don't just walk up to someone and be like, "Hey, I'm your like long dead mentor. Give me your body." No, you build up to it.
and you don't just take control of people's bodies. You know, if you're a good person. You
But
know?
he's not a good person.
So why would he not just take Marsh's body?
He took Marsh's body.
No, I'm
he
saying
just
why
didn't
would
take
he
it
use that
willingly.
but why did he have to do it willingly? You'd have to be
Because
good
he's
to want
trying
do
to-
it willingly. You'd have to be good to want someone to willingly give up their body for you.
That's not true, though.
I think he's just gonna take Marsh's body. It's okay.
This plot has happened so many times in so many different books.
Yeah, you're right.
and shows.
But the difference is that I don't think that Spook specifically is going to just be like, "Oh, yes, Kelsier, you want my body? I'll just
Obviously
give it
not,
to
which
you."
is what I said. It's gonna take time.
But no, not even. No, I don't think anywhere down the spectrum or line at all. Like, no matter how much power this person, if it isn't Kelsier, like I think it is, if it's not Kelsier and it's Ruin, I see no line that at some point he's like, okay, I've given you all these powers. Now, one more thing I need you to do is give me your body, and like he's just gonna be like, sure, because he's using Kelsier's voice. I don't.
Well,
think that's
obviously
happening.
not. But you think that just because they don't have a reason to do it right now, they're not gonna make it so that they can manipulate them in order to be willing?
But that's what I'm saying though. Like,
That's
you-
exactly the way the
he doesn't have to go
Mistborn
that
was
far to do that with
manipulating Vin
Marsh.
into trying to save Elend.
But he doesn't have
That's
to go that
how-
far with
that's how it
Marsh either,
happened.
though. He doesn't have
That's
to go
literally
that
how
far
it
right now
happened.
with Marsh. Marsh is already on the breaking point in general. So
He's still trying to kill himself, bro.
exactly. So at some point, if he just went up to Marsh and was like, "Hey," or he spoke to his head and said, "Hey, I can end this all for you," I bet you he'd jump on that a lot faster than Spook would jump on, "Hey, I'm Kelsier, give me your body."
But maybe it's the willingness that he needs.
I don't think either way is going to be willing. I don't think he will get a willing host from anyone. I think he's either has to
I think it's
practice.
possible to get a willing host in general.
I mean, yeah, sure, but not from these specific people we're talking about.
Why not?
Because I'm sure if he wanted a willing host, all he has to do is go out to a random person who is downtrodden and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna speak to you. You should give me your body," and like over time, like teach them and show them things, and then they feel indebted to him. I
So
don't
you're
think
telling
you're
me
gonna
in the
give me.
mind of somebody who is quote unquote evil, you
Mhm.
wouldn't try to pick somebody who's close to the main group that are trying to defy you.
Marsh is close to the main group.
Marsh already betrayed them.
And you don't think that he would easily be able to walk back into it after
No,
having
I don't think so.
saved Vin, literally saved Vin in the battle with the fucking Lord Ruler. You don't think he could just show up and be like,
After being
"Hey,
one of the
I
reasons why
fought."
Ruin was like released,
What?
he stopped Sace from getting there.
Yes, but they don't know that though specifically.
They
They
have
don't. They
talked
don't.
about it.
No, they've said he stated he did it. They do not. They have not once stated that they know that he directly did so. That
Okay, but I could say
he
multiple
directly
things
did
that
so.
they have not said that could also prove my point.
Wait, what? That about what?
About the fact that the reason why Ruin wouldn't get Marsh.
Okay, so why wouldn't Ruin get Marsh?
I already explained this. I can't be repeating myself like this, bro.
I don't think you explained it. Is the problem?
Yes, I did. Marsh already once betrayed them,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
It would be better to get somebody who they obviously don't expect.
Mhm.
Also,
Is that the reason you think that he wouldn't use Marsh?
yeah,
Oh, okay. Because
that's one of them.
I can tell you right now that if he were to take Marsh's body and walk back in, they wouldn't attack him directly. Okay, they would not. They would want.
But they wouldn't
him.
trust him as much as they would trust Spook.
No, actually, I don't even think they trust Spook. Okay, I think if he was going down that avenue, he's going down a terrible avenue because they already don't really trust Spook. They don't. Most of them don't even seem to interact with him all that much.
Why do you say they don't trust him?
Well, because the only people that he seemed to believe trusted him, right, were his now dead uncle and Kelsier, who is also dead. Vin thought he was weird and
So then
continued
why
to
would
be
they
off
send
for
him there to gather intel and all that shit if they
I don't
don't
think
trust him?
so. You think that with all the people who are in a city together with each other, right? They sent one person to go to another city completely far away from them, and you think
That's
they
how
like
spies
this guy,
work.
but you think they like him because Sage goes out on all these things too, and he's what with a bunch of other people. Breeze goes out with all these people. Like everybody has a group they go with, and they literally sent Spook by himself. Said, "Hey, you go to this city away from all of us. Go to the city," and they didn't even seem to
Bro,
try to figure out if he's okay.
and
They
you're
literally
telling me
went into
that
the
they
same
don't
city. They
trust
literally
him,
went into the
even
same
though they
city.
sent Ellen into the mist with Spook.
No, they sent Spook with Ellen and Vin.
Okay, but
You
Vin
really
literally
think that
left
they
him
trusted
with
you?
Spook. Vin
No,
literally left him with
she
Spook.
left. Yeah, she left him with she left Ellen with Spook. You were not wrong, but that was in a dire situation where nobody else can move as fast as she can,
Are they
and
not in
she
a
can get
dire
there.
situation? The world is literally ending, bro.
Then why send one of your people you like away?
Because they
If the
trust
world is
him.
no, if the world is ending, why
If the world
send
is
a
ending,
person you like away? They sent him away because they already don't have they don't. He's the least liked in the group in the original group. He is the one person
I don't think they
that
would
they
be
don't.
petty as fuck in order to just send
Bullshit!
somebody away because they don't like
She
him.
literally has stated it numerous times. She thinks he's fucking creepy and all this other shit. Like
That was back then when he was crushing
hitting
on
on
her,
her,
bro.
and you don't think that she still has that idea, maybe that he might be in that mindset.
No,
Like
I don't. I really don't.
I just don't think that he would allow his body to be given up willingly ever.
I think anyone could be broken to that state.
So then why can't Marsh? He's already in that state, so close.
Well, to be fair, he's
And
already
the
past
other
broken.
the other thing I have an idea on here, right, is why does he need to infiltrate the group? He's a god. He could literally take
No, but
Marsh's
he
body,
doesn't know what they have. You
walk
do
into
realize
Ellen's
that he
domain
can't
and
read minds,
slaughter
right?
them all. He could walk into Ellen's domain and slaughter them
So why
all.
hasn't he?
That's what I'm saying. He's trying to break Marsh. He wants to break Marsh so that he can exactly do that. So he can become the avatar. So he could be the avatar for his body, or he can take the body over, make it his avatar, and he can do what he wants in the world. He wants that at that point. And that's why he's molding Marsh and making Marsh so strong.
But wouldn't he have done that already?
He's not at that point. That's what I'm saying. He's been working on that this entire time. That's why we keep getting the Marsh shit about how he wants to kill himself and how he's slowly going insane pretty much because he keeps being controlled by this god. He's slowly pulling it into where he can take over his body. I don't think he needs to do it willingly because that would just be weird. He's an evil. If he's evil, he doesn't need to be doing it willingly.
I'd say it's more of the fact that you gotta willingly let him into your head because he can't get in there without it, But
well,
sure.
if he can't get in their head, if he can't get in their head, how is he in Marsh's head? How is he in?
He's not. He can't read their thoughts. He can't
But
control
he's
their
in
thought
their head
process.
though. He's in their head though.
He can control their bodies.
But he's still in their head. He speaks to them. He's still in their head.
Just because you have telepathic abilities does not mean you can
I didn't say
control somebody's whole fucking mind, bruh.
But he obviously can control him.
He can control his body.
So all he has to do is break him to say, all right, I want to, I don't want to die. I don't want to live anymore. Might as well just, let you in. And
Which
then,
is, by the way, willingly.
No, it's not.
Yes,
Okay,
it is.
so wait. All right, all right. So then, does that mean that the woman that Midnight hates, that is currently with Breeze, willingly got him to like her by rioting him? Or how about the other way around? Does everyone that Breeze soothes, are they willingly allowing that stuff to happen to them?
I'm pretty sure that's a whole different conversation.
No, that's still willingness, though. That's what I'm saying. They are forcing them to do something, even if the subtlest way of doing it. They're still forcing their emotions in order to get what they want out of it. And that's exactly what he's doing. It's like Stockholm syndrome. If you put somebody in somewhere long enough, they begin to believe that this is a better option for them and everything like that. They're not willingly doing it. It is coerced over time.
I feel like there could definitely be way better options to doing that than what he's doing then in order to get Marsh.
I mean, I don't even know if that's honestly. I'm only going down this road because this is where you were going down. My whole theory is a whole complete different idea. That I do believe somebody's going to have to give their bodies up willingly, but it's not going to be to ruin. I think preservation is going to come and be like, hey, or no, preservation is going to get released and be like, hey, I need a body so that I can fight, and basically is going to tell whoever it is that if you give me your body, you'll never be you anymore. I will forever be you until I die, and then you're dead the moment I take your body, pretty much. And then is going to have a battle. And my opinion here, right, is it's not a willing thing, and that he's going to take Ellen's body and force Vin to try to fight Ellen, and then Vin is going to be kind of broken and give up her body to preservation. They're going to have a battle, and then my whole idea is that both of their essences are going to be weak, and then I'm hoping I'm right that it's Sazed comes up and he absorbs both of them and creates a new god of balance or something is what I think I called it.
That would be cool.
That's why with the new title for this, huh?
Is he
What was
balance?
Something like that, yeah. When you said the thing, I was like, yeah, that's why I remember thinking that now, because the title was Balance at one point, and I was like, well, I mean, you have Discord and Ruin, and you have Preservation and Life.
I feel like it would be Vin who would get taken.
You think Vin? I mean, either way, yeah, either way. It's either Vin gets taken by Ruin or Ellen gets taken by Ruin, but I think they're going to be both taken at some point, and then the other one has to take the other, god in at some point. I don't think I don't think what I'm saying is I don't think that they have to willingly do it. I think if Preservation is the good god in this situation, preservation will ask them to give up their body and like kind of be like, hey, if you do this, this is what happens. Where Ruin's just going to be like, I'm taking it. And of course, I'm sure there's a benefit to willingly doing it. But in all honesty, I feel like Ruin could easily find somebody corrupt and evil and be like, I'll just take that person's body. Especially since it seems to be very easy to get, powers in this
So
scenario.
do you think that Kelsier is actually Kelsier, or do you think that Kelsier is
I think Kelsier is a god. Yes, I think Kelsier became a god. But I have a feeling that in some way, shape, or form, Kelsier became a god, and the Lord Ruler or Reshek also kind of
That's
became
what I was
that
thinking.
god at the same time. So like their essences are both still out there, and Kelsier has now found how to like kind of speak to Spook specifically to nudge Spook in a direction.
I did have a brief thought where like the Lord Ruler became a god, like an actual one.
Yeah, I still think I just he said it at one point, and I was like, that would make so much sense.
You know what I want to know too? I want to figure out if the medals to see her past or like the future or whatever, see others past. I mean, the 11th medal was it? I don't know, but I want to see how it would work on the mist spirit.
Oh,
Like give the Mist Spirit the medal?
No, like
I
how?
think he means like seeing into the Mist Spirit's past selves.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you. You're saying if you ate it and used that,
burned
you can look
Yeah.
at it. Yeah,
the
okay.
11th medal.
Got it. Okay. Which we know now is not Electrum.
Yes, it's Malatium.
Yeah.
So what's Electrum?
Well, I'm sure we'll find out. She told us we'll get every answer.
You actually will find out what. Didn't they actually already talk about Electrum? Yeah, they've already talked about Electrum here. Remember, it was Poor Man's ATM.
Yeah, we'll get all. Remember, we'll get all of it in this.
No,
What the
I
fuck
told
does
you
Poor
all
Man's
the
ATM
answers
do?
to the plot. I have said multiple times, and you've agreed
All
to
the
that.
answers.
I have.
No,
I
I did
literally
not.
went through a record. I literally went through a recording where I was like, "You'll get like 99% of the answers, like, but you'll get all the answers to the plot," and you're like, "Yep." I literally just edited a fucking podcast episode where that happened.
But you're probably missing. You're probably missing the before part of it when you said it. Oh, you'll get all the answers, and I was like, oh, we'll get all the answers.
Everything you need in the book.
Yeah,
I said all of the
We'll get
plot
to everything.
everything that's plot related, but there are more eras after era 1.
I don't believe the first time you said it, you said anything about plot. No,
I definitely did.
Nope, not the first time.
I definitely did. No, I did, and you accepted it, and then you've come back later and been like, no.
Just like you said, Electrum was the 11th medal, and it wasn't.
Yes, I fucked that up, but no, I definitely said you did.
So obviously, if you could fuck that up, you probably fucked the other thing up too.
I did it because I literally heard it in the fucking podcast audio when I was editing it.
I mean, sure, you said it later. You changed up later. You took it back a little bit later. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Wow, midnight.
No.
Oh, God.
Anyways, can we continue?
I don't know.
I very much enjoyed your conversation until you.
I know you sat back listening.
It was great.
Then we brought you in.
And then we brought you into this.
Yeah.
And your lies.
I don't.
Midnight. Midnight. All you have to do is willingly give us your body, and we'll be fine.
No.
Mind included.
I only willingly give myself to Ruin.
I was about to say, Jesus.
Hey, fuck. Fuck, Jesus, damn. Only Ruin. Apparently she likes Ruin. Alright, maybe Ruin is the good god.
My name is Corrupted Midnight.
No, totally the good god. She's corrupted with kindness.
Anyways, but yeah, no, I did enjoy your guys' long talk there. It's a lot of times you guys just seem to agree with each other, so it's nice.
Yeah, no, we're fighting each other on this one because I don't want him to fucking go anywhere. He's gonna be.
I kind of like Spook now, which is kind of dangerous.
I like Spook a lot. Honestly.
You like him, like peering out the window at that one girl, be like, "I'm gonna kill your brother. I'm the one who's gonna kill your brother." But you're gonna love me.
Stupid. That was just stupid on his part.
He's a little bit.
I'm gonna kill him.
He's very awkward with women. That's one of his biggest downfalls.
I mean,
he's very not good with women.
We all have our faults. It's okay.
Yeah, he's a cringe teenager. We're all cringe teenagers when we're teenagers. It's fine. He's allowed to be a cringe teenager.
That's not true. I skipped the teenager phase.
I'm sure you did, Darkness. Anyways, so Spook puts his shirt back on, thinking that he needs to go get information about what happened while he was out. But what had happened with Kellyanne and if any crew members had shown up in the city yet. He slips out of his lair into the Harrows, which is a small canal street with many people who didn't want to be in the main part of the city where they could be watched by where the citizen lived. The canal is clogged with shacks and precarious buildings. Urto is also the only city Spook had seen that had a nightlife, and the citizen didn't mind people going out at night since the mists were of Kelsier. Thus there were taverns open and people wandering about. Spook moves to sit down near a fire pit and listen in on what is going on around him. However, a man comes over and says he needs to pay to keep the fire lit, so Spook purchases a bottle of well-aged wine for 3 fractions of a copper piece, which the pieces are called pecks, which were minted by the citizen. He opens the bottle easily after flaring his pewter, and then takes a drink of the wine and begins listening again. Some men at the fire pit talk about how the citizen is thinking about getting rid of coins altogether, and how the Lord Ruler also lets Skull have coins. They also seem to think Kelsier killed the Lord Ruler, which makes Spook raise an eyebrow. So what do you think about Kellyanne potentially getting rid of currency altogether, even though he made some of his own currency?
Kind of like that idea, so down with capitalism.
You know, the whole time I was reading his name, I couldn't help but think that he sounded like a fucking Pokemon.
He does, kind of. His name's a little silly.
But honestly, I was not interested in how they were farming the fucking coins, bro.
Okay.
That felt so fucking annoying to me. Like, just fucking, like, leave it how it is.
So he then listens to a different conversation about how the citizen is killing anyone with nobility 2 generations back, but may split the population between those who have nobility 5 generations back, as any without nobility 5 generations back will be able to work in the government. Spook listens. I think they also call them pure. They're pure of noble blood for at least 5 generations. As Spook listens, he also realizes that his pewter is helping to prevent him from getting drunk, which he thinks could be useful. Next, Spook overhears some people talking about working in coal mines and thinks that would have been his life if clubs hadn't taken him in. He doesn't understand why clubs went so far and spent so much money to come get him, but he had been loyal to clubs because of it. Spook thinks about the crew members and again about how he left clubs to die and whispers that he just wants to be helpful. He hears Kelsier say that he can be, and when he looks around, he can't see Kelsier. No one else seems to have heard him. Spook thinks that maybe he can do what he can do for these people what Kelsier did for Luthadel. Spook flares his pewter, thinking that he'll need more, and accidentally breaks his bottle of wine. This causes him to overhear the men talking about the mines. About the men who were talking about the mines, they recognize him as the one who had been run through with a sword. They also mentioned that Dern had been saying that Spook had been part of Kelsier's crew, causing Spook to think that Dern had somehow known who he was after all. Spook then tries to stand nonchalantly and move off into the night. So were you surprised that Dern knew of Spook's relation to Kelsier, considering how he spoke to Spook about Kelsier previously?
Good question.
Go on.
I was saying that were you surprised that Dern knew about Spook's relation to Kelsier, considering he'd previously been talking to Spook about if only you had heard the survivor speak, you would understand.
But I think low-key that would have pissed me off.
I'd be going up to Dern like, you fucking idiot. Just punch him.
Low-key, high-key?
Mythic? Were you gonna say something?
No. Oh, I was, but then you said something and I kind of forgot what I was going to say, to be honest. What was the question?
Were you surprised that Dern knew of Spook's relation to Kelsier?
Oh, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I wasn't surprised, but then it made me think more about later when he meets with the other two. I'm like, he probably knows about their relation to him too. So
I think everyone knows about Sazed and Breeze's relation to.
Yeah. But the way he spoke about things, I'm just like,
yeah.
Okay, but it's like you feel like you know Kelsier better than anybody else. It's really weird.
So that was
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Kelsier and that one dude, what's his name? The one that was just talking? The one that was talking about him?
Dern?
Yeah, they're besties, no?
He'd heard him speak one time.
Mm-hmm.
For real. That's more than anyone has ever heard him speak.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the end of chapter 26. We get chapter 27's epigraph, which is, yes, Rashek made good use of his enemy's culture in developing the final empire. Yet other elements of imperial culture were a complete contrast to Kalenium and its society. The lives of the Ska were modeled after the slave people of Kanzi. The Terrasters resembled the servant class of Urtin, which Rashek conquered relatively late in his first century of life. The imperial religion, with its obligators, actually appears to have arisen from the bureaucratic mercantile system of the Halant, a people who were very focused on weights, measurements, and permissions. The fact that the Lord Ruler would base his church on a financial institution shows, in my opinion, that he was worried less about true faith in his followers, and more about stability, loyalty, and quantifiable measures of devotion. Do you guys have any thoughts about this? I didn't really have much terms of questions for this epigraph.
Repeat the last part of the epigraph.
The fact that the Lord Ruler would base his church on a financial institution shows, in my opinion, that he was worried less about true faith in his followers and more about stability, loyalty, and quantifiable measures of devotion.
Okay, this is where it starts getting interesting with all the things the Lord Ruler did, huh? I didn't have much thought about the first few.
Did you have any thoughts about this epigraph, Mythic?
Not really. It just seems like he's copying a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's kind of just going into like where the Lord Ruler got his ideas from.
Mm-hmm.
So we go to Vin's point of view. As she soars through the night air, the mist sting inches from her skin instead of sweeping against her like when she had first known she was a Mistborn. She also does not wear her mist cloak because it's quieter without one, and it had mainly been a way to keep guards and nobles from watching her when she was out in Luthadel in the past. Pushes down on a cloth-wrapped coin to keep sound to a minimum and lands on a rocky ledge. She goes past a group of guards watching Ellen's camp, although they aren't Allomancers, and goes towards the city. She avoids the main gate where the guard patrols are and instead leaps over rocky formations and lands in a city alley. The city was bigger than Vin had assumed based on Ellen's comments about it. There were skaa slums, several nobleman mansions, even 2 Luthadel-style keeps, although they are flatter than the kind of like spires.
Wait, this is a flat Earth?
Flat keeps. The flat keep theory.
Oh no, I thought you said this was flat Earth.
No, flat keeps, not flat Earth.
Flat Earth.
So she briefly
You heard it
thinks-
right. You heard it right. Right?
Yeah, she thinks
She said
it's
No.
flat Earth.
She totally said flat Earth.
I didn't say flat Earth. I said the flat keeps.
No,
Oh,
you said
definitely said
flat
flat
Earth.
I did not say flat Earth.
I didn't even know you believed in
Oh,
that.
Oh my god.
I don't know. You're
She
gonna have to go
briefly
listen to your podcast.
She briefly thinks back to her time at the balls in Luthadel and then moves on to continue through the city to gather precursory notes for Ham and Demo before they send improper military spies. Vin then makes her way to the mansion of an informant named Slow Swift, whom Vin was slightly wary of as she worries that Set still had a grudge for her attack on him in Luthadel. Did you just have any thoughts about Fadric's city on the interior now, where we move into Slow Swift? No?
You know, I probably did.
I kind of like the city, to be honest.
Pretty generic city for the Final Empire.
Kind of like it. So, I mean, the government's not the greatest, but I like the.
The government's the best part.
Nah, but I like the idea that he's trying to get behind.
Do you have any thoughts, Darkness?
No, not really.
Nah,
To be
Darkness
honest,
is
I'm
behind
pretty
it.
sure I had like comments on specific parts where they described it while I was reading it, but I don't think it was that important.
That's fine. So Slow Swift is reading a book of stories told by Scott around the fire called Long Tales. He asks if Vin read stories, but she mentions she doesn't really have much time for them lately. He then asks who sent her, and she says Set, and he mentions Set was a writing friend and one of the finest poets Slow Swift had known. Were you surprised that Set was a poet before becoming a politician?
No, not at all.
I was
Yeah, it's
surprised
very
when they
articulate.
mentioned it, but then I thought about it and I was like, I mean, it kind of
It's
makes
very
sense.
articulate. Yeah.
So Vin then asks about Yeoman, and Slow Swift says he's a good man, a better king than Set, and that he kept the city from falling apart and gave stability to both the nobles and the skaa. Slow Swift says that Yeoman basically made everything go back to normal, and Vin is shocked that the skaa are enslaved, but also thinks that they had seemed to want that even in Luthadel. Vin is also surprised to hear that there are even balls still happening in Fadrix. Vin then asks for Yeoman's weaknesses, but Slow
She's
Swift
not
says
got she's not got any experience with balls or anything.
nope,
For real.
no experience. So Vin then asks for Yeoman's weaknesses, but Slow Swift says he just told Vin he liked the man, and also he refuses titles or money when Vin offers that for information. Vin tells him he isn't helpful, and he asks why he should care, which makes Vin think this is a very strange meeting with an informant. Vin moves to stand up, saying that the world is changing, and that even if Slow Swift doesn't like change, he won't get much choice. Slow Swift replies that they call Vin the hero of ages and the heir of the survivor, that she'll get rid of the ash and make the sun yellow again. Vin replies that she either has to live up to those expectations or give up. Slow Swift then tells her to sit down again. Slow Swift tells her that Yeoman is a mediocre leader, but is fine for normal times, but with how the world is coming to an end, they need someone like Ellen for any hope of survival. He says Yeoman's 2 weaknesses are his faith in the Lord Ruler and his wealth, which seems to have come from nowhere. Vin thinks excitedly that maybe the ATM really is here, and Slow Swift says her face is giving her away too easily. He then asks for money, and Vin replies that he had said that stories didn't require a cost, to which he replies it's different from a story being a cost or being worth a cost. Then throws him a bag of coins, leaving out a few cloth-covered ones, and then leaves. So what did you think about Slow Swift and his information?
He has a weird name.
Very contradictory name.
Maybe they're talking about 2 different things. Slow body, swift mind, you know?
Maybe. He's got a swift hand with the pen as he's writing.
Oh.
That too.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
What do you think about Slow Swift Mythic?
I like him.
Like him.
Yeah, weird name. He has a weird name though.
Definitely not his real name, I don't think. Although Set's name is Ashweather.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. Maybe it is his real name. I feel like it's his informant name, but who knows?
To be fair, can't you really trust anything that comes out of that city? Like,
So Vin then moves off to find another informant, this time a beggar named Hoyd, whom Set had mentioned could be found in the square late at night. She
Yeah,
gets
we
to
don't
the
have to worry about
location.
him.
She gets to the location and can see Hoyd as well as hear him humming quietly to himself, which is apparently normal, as per what Set told her. However, she feels bothered by something, and the feeling is enough for her, so she leaves, as she feels like she needs to trust her instincts. So were you upset that Vin didn't speak to Hoyd? Do you think that's going to be our only Hoyd meeting this book?
no,
No, Hoyt is
no
definitely going to
way.
become a thing. He's a god after all, so he's got to be here for the
I don't
gods.
know if he's a god though.
He's a god.
He's just a
It's my
tourist.
theory. It's my theory that he's a god.
Everyone's a
No,
god to you, Mythic.
He,
No,
he's
not
just
everybody.
he's just a
Spooked,
tourist.
dazed, Hoyd.
Taste, Hoyd, Bruin, Preservation. There's your gods. Who else did I? Oh, and
You said
Kelsier and the Lord Ruler.
Yeah, and Kelsier. Sorry, what did you
Six,
say,
go-
Darkness?
six gods in a story of like what, 30 people that we
A
have
lot of
names for.
gods. What were you saying, Darkness?
I forgot. Oh, he's just a tourist. He paid the premium plan. That's why.
He saw the
Oh.
siege was coming to Luthadel. He's like, I'm gonna go to a different city. Thanks. It sounds like he's been here since like pretty much the first book.
Yeah, since
Cause Set knew
he's
him.
been here since the first Mistborn book. I was gonna say he's definitely been here since our last series of book.
Yeah, no. He's. I think he's been in Fadrix since like we saw
Mm.
him in Luthadel, basically.
Yeah.
It's considering that Set knew of him before leaving to come try and conquer Luthadel. So Vin then goes towards the Canton of Resource and thinks that Yeoman is probably working for the Canton, probably worked for the Canton of Resource before the collapse. She thinks that Yeoman chose this place for his palace to remind everyone of where he had come from, but unfortunately it was also the likely location of the supply cache. As Finn then goes towards the third and final informant, she notices an Alamancer, specifically a Mistborn, as they were burning copper and steel, following her. She hadn't bothered to burn bronze to hide herself when leaping to the city, so she had expected that if there were any Alamancers around, they would find her. She pretends to head out of the city, and once she gets to the large gate, she uses the massive iron brackets as an anchor as she pushes herself backwards. However, the person following her stops burning their metals, and Vin crouches on a roof, wondering if they would know that she can pierce copper clouds. She also wonders if it could have been the Mist Spirit following her, which she now knows is not Ruin, as they felt different. After a moment, she goes back out and makes her way to Ellen's camp. So do you think it was an Alamancer or the Mist Spirit that was following Ben?
Alamancer.
Yeah.
You know, the Mist Spirit's around, hanging out.
Well, I think the Mistsphere's around. I just don't think that's what it was.
You agree, Darkness, you think it's an Alamancer, not the Mist Spirit?
Mhm.
Alright. Moving on to chapter 28. The epigraph is, one final aspect of the Lord Ruler's cultural manipulation is quite interesting, that of technology. I have already mentioned that Rashek chose to use Kaleni architecture, which allowed him to construct large structures, and give him the civil engineering necessary to build a city as large as Luthadel. In other areas, however, he suppressed technological advancements. Gunpowder, for instance, was so frowned upon by Rashek that knowledge of its use disappeared almost as quickly as knowledge of the Terrace religion. Apparently, Rashek found it alarming that armed with gunpowder weapons, even the most common men could be nearly as effective as archers with years of training. And so he favored archers. The more training-dependent military technology was, the less likely it was for the peasant population to be able to rise up and resist him. Indeed, Ska revolts were always failed in part for this very reason. So what do you think about Rashek suppressing technology?
Knowledge
So-
is key. So
That makes sense, but also gunpowder.
Wait, what about gunpowder?
Is that not where we're going for the next
yes.
I mean, the Lord Ruler's not here anymore to suppress technology.
We're gonna be seeing pew 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 left and right,
Pew,
So
yeah, considering
wait, hold on. Just imagine though, at this time, someone pulls up with a fucking gun.
someone's been secretly hiding the knowledge of gunpowder, and they just have a fuck ton of guns they've hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually living in Texas. Yeah.
The issue though, I don't know how they would have to use non-metallic bullets.
Maybe. The only contention I would have in that would be that bullets move very fast, and while they might move, these people might move fast. I don't know if they move as fast as bullets.
But they could you think they couldn't just that goes along with my fucking thought of like how fast can they like
Move. Yeah.
burn metal, like
Mhm.
start burning metal. Because if they can instantly, like, I don't know. I feel like they would sort of be dangerous. I feel like at that point, people would be skilled enough to like manipulate the bullets, but ain't no way.
Maybe.
It's gonna be what, like hundreds of years after?
The next, the Mistborn Era 2 is 300 years later.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, we got like all these people doing these cool Magneto moves over here in like this era. You think they're not gonna be more like
Better with it. Yeah. I don't disagree with you that later book, sure, they'll be better with it, but I don't think that they're going to be able to do so in this book. Is the thing I
No,
would
for
say.
sure, for sure. That's why I wasn't that like, oh, like if they bring a gun in here, it's not gonna matter. That's why I was like, imagine they did bring a gun in here, cause
Mhm.
the fuck they gonna do, bro?
The Inquisitor shows up and you're like, sorry, I got a gun. Boom. They just don't even know how to react.
Don't say sorry. Don't even say I got a gun. Just go, like, no
Um,
sort of fucking indication.
I also made a note because I looked up how long ago gunpowder was first invented, like in real life, and so based on
Mhm.
how long ago guns were invented in reality, if the Lord Ruler had not suppressed technology, Mistborn's technology in this era could have been at our level or further along.
Well, to be fair, I don't think gunpowder was specifically used for guns first.
No, I looked
I
up when
mean,
like the first guns were like made.
yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
looked up.
but I'm saying is like
But
they
he
could have still
specifically they
used
had
gunpowder
guns.
for other stuff.
Well,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, 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 yes. But the thing is, the darkness, right? They had to have found gunpowder before they started making guns, right? So
Yeah.
that's your building block. It's like, it's like the wheel, right? When they first invented the wheel, it slowly progressed into what we now have today as our cars, right?
even
Yeah,
gears and
but I'm
stuff.
saying like you don't think they would have just like set that shit on fire and like used it as like
Bombs, yeah.
projectiles?
Uh
Yeah.
huh.
Well, he's
But
Instead
so
of like
he
something
didn't.
as complicated as a gun.
Well, yeah. So they had guns before the Lord Ruler took over. Apparently, like very very primitive,
I'm
powerful
sorry,
guns.
what?
That's what he
yeah,
says in
yeah.
the epigraph. They had guns.
We had guns, yeah.
He was concerned about how like amazing guns were compared to archers. Apparently, they
Oh,
had just
you're
been discovering
right.
guns.
Yeah.
I thought that it was just like, oh,
Only
what they could
gunpowder.
do with the
No,
gunpowder.
no. He so they
No,
had
they
they
had
had
it.
figured out how to make like early guns. And so he's like,
Mhm.
fuck guns and fuck gunpowder altogether. I'm gonna suppress
I'm
that shit.
sorry, I didn't know that they had fucking guns
Mhm.
already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they
they
had
had
firearms
guns.
already.
And so he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, fuck guns. Because you don't you need too little training to have to use that, and that makes
Yep.
rebellions way too easy. So yeah, so if they had already had guns 1,000 years ago, if the Lord Ruler had never taken over, if the whole thing had never happened, like with the deepness and everything, and none of the
They do
hero
what
mages
we
had
are
happened,
today.
they could have been at our technology level or further by now, by Vince's era.
Well, I feel like they would be further. Honestly, I feel like
Yeah,
they'd be
me
further
too.
because
I
they
think
have
it's
fucking
further.
powers.
Well, yeah, but remember they didn't. I mean, they had the ferrochemy, but they didn't know of allomancy. They didn't have
But they had powers.
yeah, they had ferrochemy. So yeah, they'd probably be even further
Yeah.
technologically
Especially think
than
about
us.
it, because Faircam is used to store information and all that
Yeah,
shit.
exactly. Like, I was gonna say, like, you
And
lose so much information to your brain. Like, that's crazy.
not only that, but like the fact that if the Lord Ruler didn't intervene and it played out how it's supposed to be, all that information would not have been lost, and it would have just been pure progress.
Hmm.
That's crazy. They
Yeah,
would have been in space by now.
potentially,
In
yeah,
space.
probably.
I mean, isn't that like the third or fourth book?
Yeah, that's why I said it.
I think it's the fourth era
The
space
fourth one, because
age.
the third one is the Cold War era.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
Cold
think.
War. That's okay.
yeah, it goes like kind of medieval fantasy to Wild West to Cold War to space
I'm
age.
gonna fucking throw up all over the Wild West. Lord, I don't like shit like that,
I'm
bro.
not the biggest fan of Wild West either. I'll be honest. Why do you think I'm not rushing us into Mistborn era 2? I'm like, let's go
In
to
my
Stormlight!
in my head, I'm gonna be reading that shit with accents.
They all have like Southern American accents
Yeah.
or something.
Mm-hmm.
I realized when I said Southern American, it sounds like I'm saying South American. I meant like Southern U.S.
Oh, I know what
Anyone
you
listening?
meant.
Anyways,
You know, Americans are very smart, because I just thought about what's the difference
What? What do you
Did
mean?
you South American? It's
Oh
South
my god! Darkness!
Look,
You're
look.
Latino!
This is the American education system right here.
It's failed all of us. Okay.
It really has.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna tell Jesus you
It
said
took me
that
a
after
second. I
this.
still got it, but it took me a second. You know.
Sure you did.
Oh my god. Anyways. We go to Ellen's point of view for this chapter. Once
Well,
Vin
can we
is
just
back at
skip
their
this? I
camp.
don't like this.
It's too bad. Vin had brought up the Mist Spirit, but she says she doesn't know for sure that it was following her as she had fled quickly. She also mentions that Say said the Mist Spirit wasn't evil, and Ellen says he had thought the same thing when he walked right up to it and then got stabbed. Finn then replies that it was only trying to get her to use the power on Ellen instead of releasing Ruin, but Ellen says that she can't know the Spirit's true intentions. However, afterwards he does say that it seems to be the enemy of their enemy.
Which is their friend.
Which is different than being their ally, but enemy of an enemy. Finn then says Ruin feels much stronger than the Mist Spirit, and that she is also sure that the Mist Spirit isn't what's killing people in the mists. Finn then brings up how she agreed with Slow Swift about her stopping the ash and turning the sun yellow. She says that she's the hero of ages, and Ellen replies that Ruin distorted the prophecies and retellings about the hero of ages. Finn responds that someone needs to worry about the ash, and Ellen thinks that he isn't really a good church member, as Demo had said. However, Ellen thinks that Finn doesn't need another good follower for the church, she just needs a good husband. So do you think Vin will actually be able to stop the ash and turn the sun yellow?
No.
Yes.
No.
It's
I
been
think
prophesized.
I think preservation is going to be doing that.
So Ellen says he'll help Vin stop the ash, even though he had previously said they should have a division of labor. Vin smiles, but then tells Ellen she can't speak of her thoughts on what to do, as Ruin can hear them speaking. Ellen says that'll make it hard to plan, but she tells him that she married him because she realized he trusted her, and Ellen tells her that she has his trust, although he also jokes that the relationship had a strange foundation, as she killed his god, his father, his brother, and his fiancée, but he doesn't bring up that she also killed probably about a dozen of his other siblings as well. Which I was just like, yeah, she's killed a lot of people for that were close to you.
So right there, I was like, "Is this foreshadowing when he says like you're
All that's
the
left is you.
closest to me, like you're related or whatever?" Right?
And she said, don't worry, I'm
And
not
I
gonna
was
drown
like,
myself.
"Yeah." I'm like, you see, I don't know about
You think
that.
Vin's gonna kill herself?
I think so at this point. Yeah.
So he then
I'll
said,
be right back.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's the reason I had that theory in the first place. That she was going to be the one that was like, yes, I'll give up my body for,
for whoever.
yeah, for preservation, I believe. I don't think she's going to do it for ruin. I mean, that would be interesting as well. I could see that being I could see how that would play out, but at the same time, I think I have a theory that either Ellen gets taken over by ruin and then she gives her body for preservation, or Ellen gets killed by ruin in some way, shape, or form, and then she still gives her body over to preservation.
Very interesting.
I
We'll
like
find
my
out
theory
the
though more
answers.
about Sazed. You say this. I like my theory more about Sazed taking both of them and creating a complete new god.
Did he say says it?
Sazed.
Who says it? Says it.
Sazed. Yeah. So it is. Sazed. It's literally how they say it in the book. So
Yeah, when I was reading the book,
book.
I could never figure out if it was Sazed or Sazed, because the thing is, they call his nickname is Saze, which is why I'm like, well, then obviously his name is Sazed, if his nickname is Saze. That's what Kelsier calls him. So I did originally, when I was first reading the book, start calling him Sazed, and then switched because of the nickname, and I'm like, the nickname doesn't make sense if I pronounce it that way.
I mean, every time they've said it, they've said Sazed.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So that's where I got it from.
So Ellen says that he trusts her enough that even if he doesn't know how she'll achieve things, he trusts that she'll be able to do it. Ellen asks if there's anything he can do, and Vince has to take the numbers part because of how strange the percentages are. She then says he can't tell her, though, what he discovers, but he can tell her how to act because of his knowledge, and she will trust him. What do you think about the fact that neither of them can tell each other their plans because Ruin could hear them?
Sucks to suck.
I want their plans to completely clash.
Because they don't have each other's information. They're like, oh, I'm going off this assumption because of my information, so I'm going to tell you to act this way, but I don't have this information, so I don't actually know that that's a bad idea.
They're definitely gonna have that trust me moment later on, like during a fucking fight or something. But
Trust me. Do you trust me? I
And
can
she's like-
show you the world.
she's like, no, I need a divorce.
Oh no.
Shining, shimmering, splendid.
No, remember the religion they got married with doesn't allow divorces. They can't get
Yeah,
divorced.
but the thing is that religion's dead now. So yeah.
So then move to talk about Ellen's letter to Yeoman, and he worries that even though he wants to try diplomacy, that he doesn't think Yeoman will accept his message. They need the city as the cash has the grain, which they need to plant in the central dominance where there is enough sunlight to grow plants. Elna says he executed Jastes for bringing Kolos to his city, and now he was bringing Kolos to Yeoman's city, even if they can seemingly control them. Ellen says he just wishes he could talk to Yeoman, which causes Vin to bring up the ball that is being thrown at Fadrix. Ellen tries to resist the idea at first, but then thinks about how he'll have all the people he needs to convince in one room. Vin states that if Yeoman won't meet with them, they'll crash one of his parties. Ellen states he needs to find some good reading material for the ball, because that's all he fucking does at balls is read. And Vin states that she didn't bring a gown. Were you expecting to see Vin?
No, wait, stop. Right there, that's the end of the chapter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right there is where I was like, I'm gonna fucking slap Vin, bro.
Why?
She's like,
She
oh
didn't
no,
bring
I
a
didn't
gown.
bring a gown!
No, you don't understand. Cause I was sleepy, right? I was like
Oh, God.
chilling. I was sleepy. I was reading. I was like, alright, they're discussing the plan and whatever.
Yeah.
All I read is
I don't have a gown.
Vin's face pales. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Who's dying? And she's like, I didn't bring a gown. I got so fucking angry because I woke the fuck up real quick. I don't think I've ever been angry at a fucking book this much before.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
My question for that though was good. Were you expecting to see Vin and Ellen go to any more balls after the first book?
Yeah, they love balls. They're gonna,
Especially her. She definitely loves balls.
Yeah, Ellen's not the biggest fan. He just reads at them.
He still went to the Lord Ruler's balls, so
I don't think he had much choice. I
Yeah.
think his dad kind of forced him into it.
Yeah. Honestly, I think Ellen liked Lord
his
Ruler's
dad
balls.
forced him to go to the Lord Ruler's balls. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not the first time he forces something like that.
Alright, the final chapter is epigraph. The Lord Ruler didn't just forbid certain technologies. He suppressed technological advancement completely. It seems odd now that during the entirety of his 1,000-year reign, very little progress was made. Farming techniques, architectural methods, even fashion remained remarkably stable during the Lord Ruler's reign. He constructed his perfect empire.
Wait, what?
Agricultural?
I meant, no, it was architectural. Farming techniques and then architectural methods. I kept trying to say agricultural, though, by accident.
Yeah.
I was trying. But yeah, so he constructed the perfect empire, then tried to make it stay that way. For the most part, he was successful. Pocket watches, another Kaleni appropriation, that were made in the 10th century of the empire were nearly identical to those made during the first. Everything stayed the same, until it all collapsed, of course. So why do you think Reshek suppressed things other than war-based technologies, such as fashion?
That would still, cause a development and stuff.
You think he just didn't want people thinking of, like, anything new in general? Keep their minds away from that?
Mm-hmm. Suppress the arts.
Which, by the way, technically still happened because of that fucking dress that Vin had once with the fucking slots for the vials, but okay.
Yeah, they did still make kind of, like, dresses for specific Alamasters and stuff. So here, let me make this cool dress that will allow you to hide your, like, weapons and metal. So we then go to Say's point of view, as he and his group get to Urto. I can never pronounce the city's name. Say thinks that Urto was a city that had finally rebelled against noble leadership, although he thought it unfortunate that they included Elend in that. Goradel is in the carriage with Say's, Breeze, and Alrian, and he mentions being worried about it being dangerous in Urto, or Say's being captured. Breeze states that the reason for ambassadors is that if they take someone captive, it isn't the king, and that they are expendable. Their carriage goes down into one of the canal streets, and Alrian notes that it seems creepy because of how tall it makes the buildings look. They have their 200 soldiers marching with the carriage, and they meet up with some of the citizens' own soldiers. Goradel talks to them briefly, and comes back to the carriage to let them know that the citizen wants to talk to them right away. We then skip to the meeting with Kellyan, who tells them that they aren't wanted here. He had them sitting on hard wooden stools as any finery in the noble mansion had been removed. Sayson says they are not an invading force, and Kellyan replies that it isn't about the soldiers, but about who sent them. Sage replies that Elend is a good and reasonable monarch, but Kellyan replies that he is a liar and a tyrant.
Monarch?
Monarch. I can speak today.
Monarch.
Monarch. I meant monarch.
Monarch.
I meant monarch.
Also, it's not Urto, it's Yurto.
I don't know about that.
How do they say it in the book, Mythic? How do they say it in the audiobook?
No, it's. I don't remember. Say it again. Because
Urto.
I'm pretty sure it's the way you say it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not your toe, it's Urto, Darkness.
Yeah,
I know. I just,
Okay.
I think your toe sounds better.
Your
Your
toe.
toe, my toe,
What?
we all know.
You want? Wait, you want to go to your toe?
Exactly. You see how it sounds? It sounds perfect.
I mean, I didn't know you wanted to go to your toe though.
So when Sage tries to refute that Elend is a liar and a tyrant, Kellyanne mentions the war, and that war is an excuse of tyrants, and that Vin forced the other monarchs to kneel for Elend or be slaughtered. So had you kind of expected Kellyanne to just be like outright deny any allegiance with them as soon as they got there?
Why would he why would he tell them that he was a part of their alliance or not? You know.
I was like, yeah. Why would you like put yourself on the fucking
Yeah.
front?
Mhm.
So Kellyanne states that they killed the nobles as Kelsier had said to do, and when Sage tries to bring up peace after the revolution, Kellyanne asks if Kelsier had ever talked of peace, which Sage can't refute. Kellyanne then turns to Breeze, stating his name and asking how many people he has forced to be his friends or made to turn against their own friends. He also implies that Breeze forced Allrian into his bed with his allomancy, which
Yeah,
is
I laughed
completely
at
the other
that.
way around.
I literally laughed at that because I was like, this man knew what she really did.
I just imagine Breeze just smiling to himself, being like, sure, that's what happened.
Oh, this is one of my favorite moments when Breeze speaks up, bro.
So Breeze then replies that instead of congratulating himself on being able to feel Breeze's allomancy, he should instead be asking why Breeze wanted him to say that.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that too.
And Sage just like, this is getting off topic. We gotta go back on topic, guys.
Low key, I feel like I would be doing that shit as like an emotion elementer. I would be fucking up everyone's thoughts like that. Bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like what you do is you do like a very slight hint of allomancy, just enough that they feel it, but not enough that you don't actually try and influence them in any way, and then you just imply that you've influenced them and just make them second guess everything they've thought.
Hello, Satan.
That's what I would do. That's what I feel like Breeze is doing. He's not actually.
Hello, Satan. How is it down in hell?
Amazing. It's very warm. I like the warmth. So Sage tries to steer the conversation back on course and asks Kellyanne about the mists and the ash. Kellyanne doesn't reply about the deaths or increasing ash, so Sage assumes he had noticed. Sage states that Elend is growing crops in the central dominance and has a way to control the Kolas that have been rampaging free since the Lord Ruler's death. Kellyanne, however, takes this as threats and says they aren't worried about their future because they follow the survivor. Sage then asks if they can stay as he wants another meeting, even if Kellyanne says he won't grant one. Kellyanne reluctantly agrees as he says he'll just sneak in if he says no. It says they must follow his laws and not to make trouble. So what did you think overall of the meeting with Kellyanne?
Went exactly like I thought it would.
It was funny.
I want more interactions between Breeze and Kellyanne.
Yeah.
I feel like he'd fuck with him so much.
In what sense?
Oh my god.
I got that one, Darkness. Shut up.
I mean, now that we've pretty much laid the whole thing out for you, honestly, we probably could have gone the whole podcast doing it.
I could have literally just went like,
oh
yeah, he sure would, and she wouldn't have gotten it.
I know, right? It's pretty crazy, honestly.
Oh my gosh. So once back in the carriage, Bree sarcastically says how nice Urto is to visit due to the murderous revolutionaries, everyone wearing gray, the ditch-like streets, and every 10th building being burnt to the ground. Sage smiles slightly, and Breeze tells him that they'll convince Kellyanne eventually. Sage, however, thinks they won't have an easy time of it. Allrian then notices a fire burning in the street, and one of the soldiers says they're burning tapestries and furniture, anything that seems luxurious or noble. And then Sage quickly recognizes that this soldier is Spook.
Yeah.
So Spook
man snuck up on them and everything, and they were just like, "Whoa!"
They're like, "Oh, hey, Spook, how's it going?"
My favorite part is not way later, but a little later here when they're going into the one place, and he's just like, "This is really heavy. This is really heavy, and I can't seem to pull this off." And Spook just walks over and pulls it the fuck off, and I'm like,
just casually. Sage's like, "Has he been lifting weights?"
Mine is when they walk into the room and then he's like, I can't see.
I need a lantern, dude. So he's like, oh
yeah.
Right.
Oh, I forgot people can.
He's like, right. Yeah.
Spook asks if they've chosen a base of operations yet, and Bree says they were thinking of finding an inn. Spook tells him, however, that there aren't any true inns in the city and to follow him. He leads them to the Canton of Inquisition, as apparently Kellyanne had gotten all the ministry buildings boarded up, but he hadn't dared ransack them, likely in fear of the Inquisitors. So were you happy that Spook met up with Breeze and Sage so quickly?
No.
No?
Sure. When they leave him again in the city by himself, yeah.
I was gonna say I expected him to like find more spikes before even meeting up with them, but okay. I want him to be a little porcupine.
A metal porcupine.
Yeah.
So Breeze reluctantly gets out of the carriage as Spook and Saze begin to open up the building, prying off the boards. Spook says he's happy to have Saze here, although he asked not to be called Lord Spook, as he wasn't given a title. Apparently Ellen said Spook only wanted one to impress women, and Spook agrees that he would only use a title to impress women as they're not useful for anything else.
Yep.
Spook also casually pries off a board one-handed, and Saze thinks that Spook must have been working out and gotten stronger while here, as he didn't think that Spook was that much stronger than him.
Mm-hmm.
Spook then says the reason he's glad that Sage is here is because he wants to discuss gods and men. They go into the dark building, and Sage has to stop Spook for a moment so they can light a lantern, because he's like, I can't see in here. And Breeze comments to Sage that Spook seems different. Sage says that Spook seems more self-confident. He also wonders about the blindfold, but Breeze just replies that Spook has always been odd, and that he'll deal with a quirk or two if Spook's disposition has improved. So do you think Spook's condition is going to his savantism is going to come up at some point with Breeze and Sage, or are they just going to kind of accept things about him?
Well, they already accepted the fact that he's using a blindfold like it's fucking normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, he can definitely just see through it. Okay, but what is the fucking purpose of it?
Well, no. See, here's the thing. I don't understand how they can't put two and two together with the blindfold part. Okay,
to be fair, they've been with him for all of 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know, but you know what tin does, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They do have a basic understanding of what all the metals do. So how can you look at the guy who has tin and be like, he's wearing a blindfold. I
Or
wonder.
just ask him.
Yeah, well, that too. But instead of kind of going through that thought process of being like, hey, it enhances all of his senses. So if he were to make one sense go away, maybe there are so many ideas they could have had there. Yeah. It's crazy to me that they didn't even. It was it's a disguise.
These might come up with some more ideas, or they might talk about it in the future chapters.
No, he's too busy being emo, bro.
Yeah, Saze is just gonna be an emo person the whole time.
I see. So Spook leads them through the building, which still has its furnishings and seems to be a normal bureaucratic building, until they reach the room where the trapdoor to the cache is. Spook mentions that Finn had been here, but that there was no way to get the supplies from the cache without the citizen while the citizen is in charge. Breeze also brings up that they aren't just here for the supplies, but also to quell the rebellion, which he finds odd to be on the side stopping a rebellion instead of starting one. Spook mentions that if it makes Breeze feel any better, they'll likely have to start a rebellion to stop the rebellion. So once down in the cavern, Spook states that they should make their base here as it's very defensible and also has all the supplies in case they need to hide out in an emergency. Breeze states that he suddenly feels a lot safer in the city, and Sage then asks if he hears water, and Spook replies that each cache has a speciality. This one is water, and apparently that's where all the water from the canals has gone, an enormous underground lake. So is that what you were expecting with the canal water?
No.
Darkness?
It's a lake.
Oh my god.
It's a lake, Darkness, your favorite thing. A source of water. A well, a lake. You love those things.
Wait, didn't somebody say oh well, or some shit like that?
Oh well.
I don't know. I remember somebody saying well. Yeah, they were well, and I'm like, well, where?
You're so obsessed with them.
No, but they didn't say that the water wasn't, shimmering or anything,
They don't really comment. They just comment that there's a giant underground
We don't
lake.
know yet. It could be a little metal in there, something,
It's a lake on top of a metal lake.
No.
So they're hiding it.
It's just a metal lake.
Okay. So that was the end of our chapters.
All right, Darkness. We need to have another 3-hour conversation now.
No.
Well, first I have my overview questions.
Nope, we have to have a 3-hour conversation before her overview questions.
Before the overview questions.
Yeah, just a 3-hour conversation so that she's stuck here.
I do need to go to Thanksgiving dinner later.
Exactly.
No, you don't.
We gotta get her stuck here.
So my first overview question is, what do you think Tensoon is going to do now that he has the dog bones? How do you think he's going to escape?
Flee.
So back on how Ren is gonna take Marsh's body.
Yeah, exactly. Go on.
No, I'm joking. But Tensoon's obviously gonna escape, and then he's gonna kill every conjurer, and then
even Meilon?
No. I definitely think you're kind of in the same ballpark as me with the fact that I don't know if he's gonna escape exactly, but I think he's going to try to take control. And then so he can get Vin to go to the
The
whatever the
trust.
fuck this, yeah, the trust. Because
Yeah.
he's already stated that she needs to be there. So either he is going to wait. How many chapters do we have left?
We've
Are we halfway through yet?
No, we're not halfway through yet.
Okay, all right then, never
I
mind.
can check. Hold on.
So okay,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Darkness gets the exact percentage. I think we're like a
oh
third
okay.
of the way through.
Wait, how does darkness get
We're
that?
34%.
Oh
Only
okay.
34%. Yeah, 'cause he does
Uh,
an ebook, remember? So it tells
oh
you
yeah,
the
he does.
percentage.
Okay. So my idea is that Seiza, not Seiza, sorry, Orisher, right? That's his name.
Tensu.
Or am I thinking of it?
And
Tensu. Orisher's the other one.
Or
I
is
was like,
one's
Orster,
dead.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. He has the whatever the fuck the other thing is from Orisher.
Well, of
The
Ascension.
no, the
No, I'm
gift. The gift from Orisher.
Oh, the blessing.
Blessing. That's it.
Blessing of
yeah,
potency, I think Orisa had.
potency. Yeah, yeah.
Imagine, like, he
Um,
uses that. Wait, I think they're giving us the proper hemalurgy terms, right?
You think that's what the terms that hemalurgy uses are
Yeah, they're
blessings?
just blessings.
okay, so he has this power that he stole from Orisher because apparently you can do that. And then he's kind of just not using it and not he's kind of trying to hide it
He's
in
apparently
some
hid
way,
it
shape, or form.
somewhere.
hmm
That's what
In
Meilon
the
implied.
little
I think he.
orifice, or
Well, not
I'm
in his
wondering if
body,
he.
because they checked him,
No,
apparently.
because they
It's
checked
hidden
him.
somewhere
Yeah, they
else.
checked it.
they checked his whole body. That's
Yeah,
kind
they
of
checked his whole body.
But what I'm thinking is, I don't know how he would do it, right? I don't know how it would possibly work because, like you said, they checked his whole body. But they think that the bones are disgusting in general. So maybe in some way he like put them in the bones in some way.
Maybe like
That's why
hollowed out
he
a bone and like
or
inserted
something.
the
Yeah.
little rod, because apparently they're just like little rods for the
Mhm.
Contra.
But I think he somehow put it inside that because he was using that body forever. And that's why he wanted the body back. That's why he fooled them into giving it back to him. And then he is going to if the first thing I think is he's either going to run, like originally run away, and then have to come back later to like be like, here Vin, you need to come to this. I think the trust is probably where Vin is going to get a blessing, which I think the blessing is going to be the blessing of preservation. Taking over her body. And I think he's gonna have to come back to basically force them to allow it to happen, and then fight them after he teaches Vin how to fight Kandra. Or he's gonna immediately after this fight the Kandra with his dog body somehow, and the new power he took from Orzer, and then after that, after he's already defeated them and became pretty much the leading ruler of the Kandra, he will then go get Vin and bring her to the trust, where she takes the blessing or the blessing of preservation. That's my thought.
So my next question was, what do you think is going to happen when Vin and Elend go to the ball in Fadrix?
They're going to enjoy themselves.
They're gonna be the stars of the ball.
Because the plan is to meet Yeoman there, so.
Well, they gotta put on a
Wait,
show first.
whose ball is it?
Yeoman's ball.
I don't think
Is it Yeoman's balls?
I don't. It's not Yeoman's ball. I think it's They said it's like random nobles, and he attends them all though.
Gotcha. So she's just going to a random.
So they're going to a random person's ball. Yeah.
Like I said, I think they're just going to enjoy themselves at the ball.
I mean, that's what you do at balls, but
hopefully she gets a nice dress,
She's got to get a gown made.
Yeah.
Oh my god! Imagine she goes with human.
Oh my god, they bring human along. I don't think that would.
I don't think that would go so well.
Yeah, I don't think Yeoman would be too happy about the bringing Kolos into his city.
He's not a Kolos, he's human.
Oh, okay. I went to correct you, and then I was like, never mind. It's not even worth correcting. Because you're not wrong. He is human. Only by a name, though.
Yeah, he is human. You must call him human. And then my final question was, it sounds like Spook wants to talk to Sazed about Kelsier. When do you think that's going to be able to happen, and what do you think Sazed will think of the whole Spook seeing Kelsier and now being able to use pewter thing?
I'm honestly kind of hoping that he doesn't tell them that part.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm kind of hoping he doesn't tell Sazed that he can hear Kelsier's voice and that he has a piece of metal sticking in his body that is,
I think he's gonna imply the effects of that being a thing, but I don't think he's gonna straight up say, "Oh, that's happening to me."
Honestly, I think what's going to happen is he might go to try to start saying it, and then Kelsier's going to tell him not to.
Oh my god, he's gonna stab Saze.
Oh, that'd be hilarious, honestly. Wonder what he would get from that. All of Farakemi or just
What? He doesn't even have his things on.
yeah, as I'm
Do they
saying,
have to have their thing on?
No, that's just
Hmm.
how they store their memories with the and like their powers is with the government, but they have the powers naturally like through in their body just like Allomancers.
Oh, okay.
It's just the metals have to be outside their bodies instead of inside their bodies like with
I mean, honestly,
Allomancers.
they have it more like Mistborns than Allomancers, but sure.
Yeah, well, because they have all the powers, but yeah.
I still want to see what it's. We haven't seen what it's like if an Allomancer eats like.
Eats.
Vin did try to eat. Remember one of Say's little copper mine rings at one point? And she said she could feel the power, but she couldn't use it.
Oh, okay.
Which says is very similar to how a ferrochemist feels trying to use someone else's metal mines.
So what
That's
you're saying is Vin might be a ferochemist.
That's what I've been saying for so long.
Darkness suggested that a while ago.
Well, that's why I'm once again hinting for it
Mhm.
because you're saying that maybe she's a ferochemist. Any more
She's the
overview
Lord
questions?
Ruler's daughter, bro. Ain't no way.
No, she's not. No, there's no way. No, I don't want that to be
Mhm.
true.
She killed her own papa.
And then he had his own. No, I guess he wasn't like her. I don't say he killed his own son, but it's not really. Any more overview questions?
No, I have no more overview questions. Do you guys have any more thoughts or theories, or should I just tell you what chapters we're reading next?
Darkness, you want to go on a 3-hour tangent real quick? Or should we keep that for the next one?
Well, what are your Loki? What are your thoughts on the blessings themselves for the conjure?
My thoughts?
Yeah,
Well, I kind of think it's like the hemalurgy shit. So
yeah. I
metal
think
pieces
it's just
and people.
hemalurgy based, but
I mean, it's the kind of the reason that I think that ruin and preservation being molded into one kind of in like the way I was talking about how he comes in, he takes both of their essences and then becomes a new god with both of them combined because they're both similar but different at the same time.
you know how
Mhm.
what do you guys remember what Hensun said about conjure being able to use elemency?
He says they can't.
Yeah.
I think he also said
So
they can't feel when Allomancy is being used on them either.
thing is, technically, if those blessings are what they use, it's not elemency, it's hemalurgy.
I'm pretty sure
And
it's the same
it
illusion.
still has the effects of if hemalurgy works like that, it still has the effects of like elemency and ferochemy. Because we know that he seems to paint the picture that potency is like pewter. And then the one he has, what's it called?
Presence, I believe.
That's like the fucking what is it, clarity of mind from
Yeah,
ferochemy? So
it's like a
I'm
clarity of
sure
mind thing.
yeah. I don't know. They sound pretty similar to like the other ones. I'm assuming they all have like similar aspects.
I mean, I still think it's hemalurgy. I mean, it's so weird because they say that they're the whatever of preservation and that everybody else is of ruin. But I have this distinct feeling like that's
I don't
just
feel
a
like that's
lie.
accurate.
Yeah, I think it's a
Yeah,
lie. Honestly,
that's what
because I
I
think
was thinking.
hemalurgy is just all ruin. Like anybody with a hemalurgic thing in them, I feel like is, you know, able to hear ruin. Cause I'm kind of going off of your base idea of like Kelsier not being Kelsier. You know,
Yeah.
like if we go down that road, that I feel like all spikes and all hemalurgic ideals or whatever like that would be uh, ruin based, and that technically then Conjure would be of ruin as well. I just the weird part to me is why would they even know of preservation then?
The fun thing is,
'Cause-
looks like the not chapter 30 and 31, but the chapters afterwards, they start talking a lot in the epigraphs about the sources of power and the three hemalurgic or the three metallic arts.
Oh, there you go.
So you'll get a lot of cool information about how the powers work. The three different powers. Some epigraphs upcoming next 2 episodes.
We don't know what they do though yet, right? The blessings, like what they're. I mean, aside from.
All you know is that they're given when a Khandra first becomes a Khandra after being a Mithraith, and that
Yeah.
they have different ones. Everyone gets like a certain one, and like it doesn't
I
seem
think
like
they're given.
Hmm?
I think they're given it to become a conjure, not when they become a conjure.
I'm trying to remember what they've specifically explained to you.
Because do they have conjures that don't have blessings?
No, every
No.
conjure has blessing.
So
Yeah, so it's a mystery that got a
requirement.
blessing. Yeah, it's a mystery that got a blessing, basically. At least that's how it seems. I'm like trying to figure out because I don't know. It just doesn't. It seems weird to me if they're of preservation and then everybody else
I
is of
think that's
ruin.
wrong. I think they're
Yeah.
like not fucking accurately depicting what
Mhm.
actually is going on. Maybe it's like a
Well,
fucking
okay. So if that's right, if like let's say that they are of ruin, right? And we've already seen that ruin can control the people that have these spikes in them. Does that mean then they're going to be able to be controlled?
what?
The conjurer would then be able to be controlled.
Well, I'm assuming they're able to be controlled with the fucking emotions thing.
But I'm talking by ruin specifically because
You
it's
see,
already been stated that ruin can manipulate the Khandra as well as the.
You mean the Kolos?
Thank you, the Kolos, and then also can manipulate the
Inquisitors.
Inquisitors. So
well, maybe it's they are of preservation, but the blessings they get is from preservation instead of ruin.
yeah, but like what's I'm saying? Okay, but
It would make sense that they can both give those blessings, considering that in the past leprechauns, they can't really live without each other. You know,
mhm. they're
they
one.
can't exist
They're
without
like
each other.
yeah, they're like the heads and tails of a coin.
Yeah.
Uh, which is why I
And maybe what if like it's half and half? So like what if like one side can only get half of these blessings and the other one can get the other half?
They do have
We
two
don't even
metal
know though.
rods.
But like that's
Just
just a
so you know,
theory.
their blessings are 2 rods.
their one blessing is 2 rods.
They have 2 rods inside them. Let me
So
fact check
So-
there's
myself
only
quickly,
one.
but I'm
So the number of
90%
rods
sure.
matter.
Maybe, yeah. So then that would mean then that Orisator would have 4 rods if he took the 2 from
Do you think the amount of rods that you have is like how much they can control you?
maybe.
Because what's his name? That one dude that died. The one
Well,
that Vin was trying to get a sight of
mhm.
him.
well,
Um,
the reason the reason I'm kind of on the whole ruin thing, being able to control them, right, is that they seem very heavily like corrupted, like at least the second one, the second generation thing.
yeah.
And so
The first
it
ones
would
don't
make
even exist, bro.
yeah, it would exactly. It would make sense though that if they were being manipulated by Ruin into that point, like maybe he's manipulating the Conjure to for some goal down the road, and so he starts with the seconds. You know, he probably tried to start with the first and put them in a catatonic state, and then he started with the seconds,
I think the first are dead.
and they're puppets. Yeah. Have we figured out what the blessings do though?
Well, the blessing of potency, they're like stronger and faster. It sounds like
Okay.
Peter, like I said, yeah.
the blessing
Yeah, okay.
of what was the one?
Presence,
Yeah,
right? Is that
presence.
the one?
It makes
It protects your mind or
Yeah,
whatever.
Tensoon says he
and it,
can't
like,
go
makes you aware.
insane while imprisoned
Yeah.
because of his
Mhm.
blessing of presence. I believe we also know of one other, which is the blessing of awareness, which is why
Which
he was
does.
concerned about people listening in on him and Melon's conversation.
So it's 10.
Also, the blessing of was the presence or whatever. That one can help you like tell how much time has passed between you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's got like a super good mind, like and like memory, and like he stays sane and can also like keep track of like time and all sorts of stuff. He's very aware of everything around him.
But it's not of awareness.
No,
Which is like okay.
presence is like his like mind. Internally, he
Do
is
we know?
aware of
Do we know how
himself.
many blessings there are?
There's
Is
gonna be
there only 3?
16.
I think we know
16?
of just the 3 so far, but we haven't been told if that's all of them. Those are just the ones that have been
Okay.
listed.
There's gonna be 16.
So-
we know this.
So we have potency, awareness, and presence. And in my opinion, I'm trying to figure out what metal presence goes to. Because potency would go to obviously to pewter, and
Pewter.
awareness would go to tin.
I think it would be one of the like emotion
Honestly,
ones,
Honestly,
or the one that
presence
what's
seems
it
more
called?
like ferrochemy to me.
That's what I said. Like the
Yeah.
Ferrocami one, though, with
Yeah.
it's literally a like awareness, like
Mhm.
mind clarity or whatever.
Yeah, feels like ferrochemy.
Hmm.
So there's gonna. I feel like if it's 2 allomancy, it's probably got to at least be 2 ferrochemy types, I guess.
Do you think there's
So
gonna be like 4 minimum?
Oh,
That would make
I mean,
so much sense.
honestly, if we go by the 16 thing, because 16 is a pretty prevalent thing in this.
It would be half and half.
Yeah, it would be 8 and 8. 8 of the base metals, 8 of ferrochemy base metals. I
Ferrochemy,
guess.
yeah. I also I just want to know. Do we find out in this book where Farakemi comes from?
She
Yes.
said we would find out everything.
You literally find out where, like, literally chapters 32, 33, and
Oh, we're gonna find out
34
right there.
literally are like, epigraph, Allomancy is blank, Hemalurgy is blank, Feruchemy is blank.
Oh, so they just tell us. Got it. All right.
They're all sins. No.
They're all what?
Sins.
And then we
Gotcha.
also, chapters 35 on, get a bunch of information about hemalurgy, how it works. We'll get some more details about specifically how hemalurgy works, which I'm sure you'll be very excited for, Mythic.
Do we get an explanation on the? Yeah, we do. It's
On
whatever.
what?
The blessings.
Yes, you will get an explanation on the blessings. Yeah, so next episode is going to be chapters 30 through 36. That's 7 chapters.
That's not bad.
Yeah, 36. So those are going to be our chapters for next time, and as I said, we're going to get some pretty interesting epigraphs, I feel like.
Mhm.
Get some good details about how powers and stuff in this world work.
I'm gonna read all the epigraphs first.
What?
So,
No,
so back to the question that you had way back when. Very like when we first got into the Condra, whatever the fuck his name is. I keep forgetting his name.
Tensu?
Thank you. When we first got into his POV, you asked about whether he would be strong enough because he's not strong enough right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my theory is that in some way he's hidden it in the body.
Mm-hmm.
So if Oriser had potency and it's hidden in it, then that means that he will be strong when he gets up. Because maybe that's why he seemed emaciated, because he was using potency before, and like
You know,
he lost it.
So he definitely was emaciated because of the acid. Because normally, no matter if you have potency or not, you could be able to form a normal human body, right? Because any Conjure can form a normal human body.
But it was definitely the acid.
I think he specifically states that like the acid affected like how much he was able to like.
But it affected, but it didn't he didn't say it was like that's the reason. He just said that affected it.
I'd have to go and reread part of that. I don't 100%.
No, I think it's still there.
fairly
I think he's hidden it inside the body somehow.
Yeah, the whole
he's
emaciated
gonna
and
be
acid
strong.
thing isn't
He's
a
gonna be
huge
strong.
factor. Where he's
No, but
hidden
okay. So
potency.
let's say it is right. It is the acid. If he did hide the potency rods or whatever inside the body of the dog, and then he goes to put it in, he'll be slightly less stronger than he was before. But I mean, it always made me wonder, even before we knew who he was,
Mhm.
that as a dog he was like able to do some really cool jumps and feats, like.
Yeah, he's definitely able to do
So-
probably more than a normal dog body, but he does
Mhm.
also say that the dog body specifically helped a lot.
Yeah,
compared to it had an advantage over the human body. So like, it's like there's
Mhm.
going on your theory, like he could still be able to potentially escape even if his body is slightly emaciated because of the acid.
Mhm.
If he does get the potency plus the dog body.
Yeah.
Like, your theory of like him still being able to
Mhm.
like get out because of that would still work.
I'm just wondering how. I mean, because it's obviously going to hurt him in the long run if the acid has that big of effect.
Yeah, we don't know if they can heal over time, because I think usually
Mhm.
the acid is just like we kill
You're
you.
gonna die anyway, so here you go.
But anyways, I do
Go
need
watch
to
out.
go now
No, you
for
don't.
Thanksgiving. I do need to go for Thanksgiving.
No, we
I've
can
given
keep
you your
talking.
chapters. I have pinned
No, I
it
think we keep
in
talking.
the Discord.
not even dinner time.
Well,
I
no, I
know,
have to.
right?
I go ahead
Okay.
of time because my grandparents are going to be there
Oh.
too, and I want to talk to my grandparents. But yeah, so we will see you guys again next week for chapters 30 through 36. Look forward to it, and thank you everyone for listening. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.